Hello and welcome to today's video. So this is going to be the very first of a series of videos looking at viewers' collections. Now, a few weeks back I posted the little short video saying please send me photos and video of your collections, and I was amazed at how much I've had through, and that video was shared amongst a lot of the collectors Facebook groups and it did very well, and I've consequently had loads sent to me. Now there's no way I'm going to be able to put it all into one video, so this is very much going to be a series of videos. So I've got some absolutely fantastic stuff to share with you today. Now don't forget, if you've not sent anything in yet, by all means do. As I said, this is going to be ongoing, but hopefully this will give you a bit of a taster of the sort of stuff that we're looking to cover here. So I do hope you enjoy it. Sit back, relax then, and let's get to it. Right then, so Chris Edwards is number one of what I hope to be many collections that we get to share here on the channel. And Chris is one of my patrons. He has been for quite a while now, and is a huge Star Trek collector. So as you can see here, Chris has got an amazing collection of Star Trek books, which he collects with the help of his daughter Juliet. So it says a little bit about his collection. So he was born in 1977 and has been collecting the books since probably 1984. The collection totals 863 books as of now, 40 of them being hardbacks and a ton of doubles, my guess being another 800 to 1,000 books just as doubles. I have all the numbered series books from the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine and Voyager, including all mini-series and the standalone novels. Pretty much every Star Trek book from 1967 to the present day. And don't they look good? Absolutely phenomenal collection. Chris has been gracious enough to fill a few holes in my collection as well. As I'm sure you know, I've been reading and reviewing all the Star Trek books. I'm still on the classic Star Trek series, but I'm on the almost the mid-80s pocket books now, around the time of Star Trek 4. That's going to be my next batch. And I've been absolutely loving going through them. I used to sell them in my shop many years ago, and the Trek books were always very popular, and I've been really enjoying collecting them today. I've made it so much harder on myself by insisting on USA Pocket first editions. There's his earlier Bantam ones, and the James Blish Library, the Star Trek logs. There's the Deep Space Nines and the Voyager. Truly an amazing collection, and really nicely presented as well. They look fantastic. There isn't an inch spare of space, is there? And definitely like the little welcome addition of a few props here and there, like the Enterprise, that Klingon bird of prey there tucked away in the corner. Excellent stuff. Yeah, really nice. I wish I had the room to put my Star Trek collection out like that. Some of the hardbacks. Okay, collection number 2 is from Matthew Steinhaus, who's also a Patreon supporter for many months, in fact probably over a year now, and Matthew sent a ton of pictures of his collection, which I was pleased to see. So he says, here are some photos of my bookshelves. I live in Minnesota, a little over an hour west of the Twin Cities, so a lot of my book buying is from online sellers and the local Goodwill. The Wheel of Time books are mostly first edition hardbacks. My Sanderson shelf has nothing too important on it, but the Lord of the Rings shelf is one of my favourites since it's my favourite book. The Harry Potter books are all first American editions, if I'm not mistaken, and they were bought at the time of release. The Door books and Ace books are what I've started collecting this year for fun. Of these, many are Andre Norton titles. I've also been collecting Star Trek books. The James Blish 1 to 12 are first editions that are all in near mint condition. I bought them together for about $30. The Star Trek books that I have are from the 80s to the 2000s, and I bought them all at Goodwill. I don't have many signed books, but I took pictures of them anyway. The Sand Sea was sent to me by the author after I posted about it on Instagram. The author seemed to really appreciate the support. That's cool, isn't it, when you get a bit like that come back from an author? And yeah, look at those lovely dolls. I do love that imprint. For sort of 600 titles, are so distinctive with that sea of yellow spines. Brilliant. But I can see lots of that's Stephen Erickson, isn't it? I can see lots of books that I've read over the years in Matthew's collection. Oh yeah, I can see the Blish books there, third shelf down. The numbered Blish books, they are so good. Nice copy of Spock Must Die. That's, I found, quite tricky to get in a nice condition. First edition. And the double helix, some of the next gen ones. The Captain's Table, that was a good little series, wasn't it? The 4 books of that. Now there's some Wandering More. A little Mario tucked on the shelves. It's funny how us collectors, we all do that, don't we? We fill every little nook and cranny up. I think it must be the way. If you collect books, you know how to make the most of the space that you've got. Cool. Certainly a collection of Andre Norton. Fantastic. I've never seen so many. Some odd Bane books. Little ace double there I see on the end. They're always nice. Oh, and a Doctor Who. Face of Evil. And that was the signed one he was talking about that he got off Instagram. That's really cool, isn't it? Another nice signed one there. I like signed books, I really do. Just adds that little extra, doesn't it? And look, there's that great edition of 1984 that came out, I think, in 2012 from Penguin with the blacked out lettering. Really good edition, that one. So number 3 here is Zach Mendoza. So he says, my collection is very small as I'm limited on space. I actually have more books on my Kindle than anywhere else, but that's fine. That being said, I love collecting comic books and manga. My favourite book I own is a little book of Japanese woodblock prints. The actual prints are only about 4 inches long and 2 inches tall. I love flipping through it and seeing all the wonderful little details that were somehow carved onto a piece of wood. Thanks so much for looking at my little collection, and thank you for your wonderful videos. Thank you, Zach. I'm very jealous of your collection, and maybe someday I'll be able to collect like you do. Oh, and I'm from New Mexico in the US. All the best, Zach. Well, thanks for Zach. It doesn't matter about the size of your collection, as long as you're getting some fun out of it. That's the main thing, and thanks for sending those photos through. That lovely Japanese one is, well, lovely. Collection number 4 then, by a chap called Dave. Don't know much else about him. I suspect he's in America, but I didn't push him. Now, this is what he wrote to me, and boy oh boy, have we got some amazing stuff to see in his sort of collection room there. So it says, hi, my collection covers just about every genre of book collecting. The main focus is pulp heroes and science fiction. Now, there is complete runs, paperback runs, of Doc Savage and the Avenger, Belmont Shadows, the Ace D series, that's the doubles for the science fiction line. He says he's got 140 plus Frank Frazetta covers, Man from Uncle and Girl from Uncle paperbacks and digests, Avon Fantasy and science fiction digests, Overall, there are about 3,500 books in the collection, with many signed and many other rare books. Some shelves and cupboards are 2 and 3 books deep. I know that feeling, Dave. These photos were taken over a year ago, so there have been a few additions since then. Well, there we go. Well, just what we were talking about last time, where we have seen collectors use every little nook and cranny. This is a perfect example of that. And yeah, some really, really great stuff. And I noticed, Dave, that most of your collection is bagged. I'm still a little bit on the fence about bagging my books. Certainly my most rarest, sort of most valuable books are now bagged, but it's a debate all in itself, really. It's certainly where you've got them like hung up on the wall and that, when they're bagged, they're much, much easier to display like that. And I think perhaps my sort of more fragile wartime penguins, for example, which are super thin and very poor quality paper, they need bagging just to keep them in one piece, really. But I think on later titles, 1960s upwards, to be honest, I'm happy just to have them nude, as it were, on the shelf without being bagged up. They're the sort of titles, if I fancy a quick hit, I just pull one of those from that era. Pans, often, in fact, for a quick crime hit. And I'm just glad. I'm always glad of the fact that when I go to the shelf, they're not bagged. I can just grab them. Same with my Labrador books, for example. I just don't consider them vintage enough to bag up. But maybe it's something I'll get round to eventually on the entire collection. But I just don't have the desire to do it right now. I guess it's just too daunting a task. Good stuff on that shelf. And I love those ace doubles. That's fantastic. What a run of those. And those little Marvel cups. Those 60s Marvel cups on the left there. Very nice. I got some classic EC. Weird Science. Brilliant title. I love all the ECs, but Weird Science and Weird Science Fantasy are amongst my favourites. I see you got the slipcase of Barrie Windsor-Smith's Storyteller. I remember selling that as a retailer back in the day. Looks like some more general sci-fi, some duels, ace doubles. Big little books on the side there I spotted. Yes, I think, Dave, you need another bookcase, don't you? Another bookcase or two would go down very well, which I'm sure everybody watching this would agree with. Oh, look at that run there. That's all the Doc Savages, isn't it? So just a quick pause there to thank my very loyal Patreon and channel members. Thank you very much for your continued support. It really is appreciated. Now, next up, we've got a video from my friend Barrie.
My name's Barrie, and thank you to Jules for the opportunity to share some books. So let's get to it, in his words. Okay, so I'm a big fan of motor racing. As you can see, I've got a lot of books on motor racing drivers and cars and things like that. All of the British World Champions. And then down here I've got some more books. Got Lemmy biography, more Formula 1, Murray Walker and so forth. This is interesting. I actually met Mario Andretti at a race here in America. I should just explain I'm an Englishman living in America. And this book is from 1978, on the year that he won the championship. It's a really, really nice book, written by him and Nigel Roebuck, who was a Formula 1 journalist. And you can see it's been signed to me by Mario Andretti. Okay, some of my other books. I'm also a big fan of aircraft and RAF. I have a big love and respect for the RAF and American military as well. A lot of interesting stuff here. We've got The Dam Busters by Paul Brickhill, Bomber Pilot by Leonard Cheshire VC, Reach for the Sky, story Douglas Bader. My absolute favourite of these is this one. It's called Vulcan 607 by Roland White. I've actually met many of the aircrew associated with this. This is the story of Black Book 1. As you can see, this has been signed to me by Martin Withers, Bob Tuxford, and most of the other aircrew. The only one I'm missing, I think, is a guy called Neil McDougall, who flew one of the Shrike missile attacks. So there's that. Another book in my collection is this. This is Fighter Pilot. This was a TV show back in the early 80s on BBC One, and it was all about people learning to fly in the RAF. Again, this is actually signed by one of the stars of the series, a guy called Martin Oxborough. He actually went on to be a RAF pilot, flew Hercules. It's a really good interview with him on a channel called Aircrew Interview. If you get a chance to look at it, I would totally recommend it. Okay, so this is the prime of my collection. I have a big collection. I have all of the original Star Trek pocketbooks and some of the older ones as well. You see, mine are the actual hardback novels. So there you can see the hardback copy of Star Trek II, the Rathacon. Not signed, but they only released limited versions of these hardback novels, and then he did it for the best of the best. You see, and then going down onto this shelf, we've got a lot of the other ones. I should just explain that they actually go behind as well. I just don't have enough space really. Okay, so going down a shelf, this is where I have my thrillers. I've got XPD by Len Dayton, Wild Geese by Daniel Carney. This is a very difficult book to get hold of. The reason why is that Daniel Carney died young and his family basically refused any reprint rights, so that book's very rare. And then just to rub it in, I have a complete set of the Signet paperback James Bond books. Also have these hardback books, which are Macmillan for the Reader's Digest, basically. All the James Bond novels there.
Cool, so collection number 6 is from Scott Sloan. Now, he says, I started reading comic books in the early 70s when my older brother joined the Navy and left me his comics. My love of reading and sequential art started there. I became a huge fan of the new artist on Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes named Mike Grell. Mike has enjoyed a long career penciling and writing comics. I know, mate, I've met him a couple of times. I finally got to meet Mike 40 years later at a Comic Con in Dayton, Ohio. He signed a few things and also drew an original Warlord piece for me. It was a great day. A short time later, back in the 70s, my dad introduced me to paperback books with a movie tie-in of a new movie coming out called Star Wars. Thanks, Dad. I was first exposed to pulp literature when my dad and I had lively discussions about who was the best Tarzan. His favourite was Johnny Weissmuller, same as me. Mine was Herman Briggs. I read everything Burroughs I could find. I can thank my love of Burroughs and Tarzan for leading me to Doc Savage when I first found the Bantam reprints with the Bama covers on the newsstand. I was hooked and I loved the Ron Isle movie. Then it was The Executioner by Don Pemberton and the Destroyer series, The Survivalist and Everything Else by Jerry A. Hearn, and Dirk Pitt by Clive Cussler. I loved Casca by Barry Sadler and everything by Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft, as well as Lynn Carter, Otis Klein and John Norman's Gore series. Rankin Bass introduced me to The Hobbit, and a good friend introduced me to The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien and Terry Brooks' Shannara series. I met and read Stephen King and Stuart Woods via TV miniseries and found Stuart Kaminsky's Toby Peters mysteries in a Take One box, a free box. I found Len Levinson's Rat Bastards on a spinner rack, as well as adult westerns like Edge, Robert Randisi's Gunsmith and Longarm. God, what a great selection. Sadly, years later, my paperbacks and comics fell victim to divorce. Years later still, I met and married a wonderful woman who supports my need to replace all my books. These photos are the result of her enabling me, so many of my current collection are signed editions, as we're seeing here. And boy, oh boy, are they amazing. What a collection. And you mentioned so many great series that I've been into myself, so fantastic stuff. Really, really great and really well presented, so thank you for that. They have come up really well. Some lovely stuff here. Now, the next entry didn't send that many photos, but he did do quite a write-up, so I'm just going to read bits of it now. It's by Chris Jorgensen, and he's a collection number 7. So he says, my Penguin collection is pretty modest, about 250 copies in all. Not much by British collector standards, but every one of them came the hard way. They're really, really hard to find here in the US. He says, I was hooked. I began looking for penguins in every used bookstore I visited in the US, but usually it came to heartbreak. They almost do not exist here. Very occasionally one would turn up at an estate sale or a thrift store, but always common titles from Bernard Shaw or D.H. Lawrence that I already had. A friend in New Zealand, where she teasingly describes penguin as everywhere and as cheap as chips, sent me several, but the high cost of postage was painful. I make regular searches of eBay where they seem abundant, but foreign postage on a $3 book can be $40. I did pay a huge sum, more than $100, for the 2-volume Gertrude Bell letters because I couldn't live without them and they weren't turning up in a US shop anytime soon. He says, I also prowl Drew Kent's The Penguin Chap website, who I have also used myself, and Drew often has stuff for sale at a very, very reasonable price. So he says, I also prowl Drew Kent's Penguin Chap site almost daily and have ordered 20 or so books there, paying the heavy but fair postage ransom willingly, and I've appreciated his cheery email correspondence. The frank dole to my Helene, and I watch your penguin videos lustily, making a list of the titles I want to pursue. But while my long-distance passion for penguins remains mostly unrequited, I remind myself that the joy is in the hunt, and when I do find them, the reading of them is especially satisfying. Okay, the final collection we're going to look at today is from Vineeth Abraham. So I'll read you what he did me a nice little write-up, so I'll read you it in full. So, hi, I am a regular follower of your book-related videos on YouTube and Facebook. I saw a post on Facebook a few weeks earlier in which you asked book enthusiasts to send in pictures of their collections. Don't know if it's past your deadline, but here are a few of my picks. Well, it's definitely not past the deadline, so if you're watching this and wanting to send your own videos in, please, or pictures, videos or pictures, please do not hesitate. Just send them in to julesburt@gmail.com and they will be featured in a future one of these. I've got enough to do a second video and the bit of the third video already sort of in reserve, so do please send in some more, and I would love to feature your collections. You've got an idea of the sort of stuff we're looking for now. So he says, my name is Vineeth Abraham and I am from, how do we pronounce this? Irinjalakuda in Kerala state of India. I'm 58 now and retired after serving the government of India for 30 years in New Delhi. I have been a voracious reader from childhood and have built up a sizable collection of books and comics and a few pulps and digests, mostly brought from the pavements and second-hand shops of cities and towns across India. So recently I built a proper library at home in Kerala to house my collection. Since there is no proper book collecting culture in India and second-hand bookshops are rare, the books I have vary in condition. However, I consider myself more of a reader than a collector, so I buy books by authors I enjoy regardless of the condition. Posting a few pics of my library and collection, the books are arranged 2 deep in each shelf, so each pic only shows the first row of books. I have not posted pics of my comics or pulp digest collections, they are packed away elsewhere. And he did send, well, as you can see, many photos, and what a collection. I mean, it does cross all genres, just like he says, and there's so much here to enjoy. I mean, there really is. It's like knowing where to start. We do get to see some sort of pulled out photos of Vineeth's library towards the end, and they truly are fantastic. I can see some Mad books there on the top shelf by the look of it. Lots of other vintage paperbacks. I can pick out the Robert Jordans. Looks like some Renegades. They're British annuals, aren't they? Look, Dandy, Beano, the Beezer, Topper. I wonder how they made it over to India. Whizzer and Chips, Battle, Victor, Core, loads of them. Some nice classics there. And I think, one of the things that has come about while I've been looking at people's collections is how we are all storing our books, because I tend to have the occasional purge where I've had stuff maybe long enough and I think, no, perhaps it's time just to clear that particular bit of the collection out, possibly, or I think I'd like to sell part of my collection and just put the money towards something else. And I don't think it hurts now and again to have a little, a bit of a semi-ruthless clear out, as it were, and just sort of do a bit of housekeeping on the collection. Anything that you don't really think you're going to read again, possibly, take it out and move it on. But I think, one thing I have found with collectors is whatever space they've got, they generally manage to fill it, and then it starts getting out of hand with books on top of books, or books in front of books and then on top of books, which is, how almost every collector I know has got stuff stored because we just don't have enough room. So if you've got unique solutions to storage, I think Chris is at the start with his Star Trek collection. That room looked perfect, but it was every little inch. It had been really planned, and every inch was filled, so nothing was wasted. And certainly Vineeth is not wasting any space here. But I remember when I had the bulk of my penguin collection in my dining room, my brother-in-law came round and built into sort of an L shape specific penguin and A format and B format size bookcases to maximise my space, literally floor to ceiling, and I filled it up that way, and it did look really, really impressive. And ideally, I think that's what we all need, is something floor to ceiling, purpose built, that rather than having to use bookcases that you might buy off the shelf or in a furniture store, and then them not be sufficient to hold your collection. But of course that is easier said than done. One of the big problems with books, of course, is they come in multiple sizes. The paperbacks can be uniform to a degree, but they're not all the same size. Some nice Whitman TV books there. So much in the collection. It's just phenomenal, isn't it? Absolutely phenomenal collection you've got here, Vineeth. Here's some photos of the collection from a distance. It's really, really nice with the shelves behind glass like that. Stops the books getting dusty, I would imagine. A few handy stools and a chair or two. That's what we all like. Certainly spend some time in there relaxing and reading, which is what we like to do. So if you're on the fence about sending stuff in, please don't be. It doesn't matter if it's just a handful of photos and you've got just a couple of hundred books, or if like Vineeth here you've got 140 photos and goodness knows how many thousands of books in this room. Honestly, doesn't matter. Size is not important. It's your enjoyment of it and the history of how you collect, how long you've been collecting, that sort of thing. Like, it is fascinating. Now, I did mention when I first started doing this that we will be doing a sort of a competition. So once we've featured the first, say, 50 collections, something like that, and I'm going to try and do 8 collections per video, and I'll try and do one of these about once a month or so if I can fit that in. Once we've done the first 50, I'm going to come up with like a prize, I think. Now, it could be in the form of, say, an Amazon voucher, or maybe a rare book of some sort that you might fancy. We'll come up with something really good as like a reward, but the actual winner will be voted for in a poll by people who viewed the videos. So once we got the 50 out over the next sort of 6-7 months or whatever it's going to take. Oh, look at them hard case crimes, that's lovely. Once we've got them all together, we shall I'll do a little poll and people can vote for their favourite ones, and then whoever comes out on top will be winner of the prize, and we will come up with something really good, I assure you of that. So do please, have a think, and as I said, it doesn't have to be massive. It can just be a small collection, beautifully curated and presented, whatever you like, with a nice little story attached to it. One thing people have said to me in the emails they sent is how difficult it is to photograph bookshelves, and it's much harder than you might think, getting the right light and things like that. I've nowhere near had time to go through and edit people's photographs and try and get the lighting better or anything like that. There's just too many for me to do that. So if you are sending in and you can just edit the photos to get them looking as good as possible, that will be great. And if you can take some video, that'd be even better, like Barrie did earlier. That was unexpected but very well received. It's nice to receive a bit of video, since this is a video medium, YouTube. But when else would you get the chance to share a collection like this? A good historical record, I think. Like when I did mine earlier this year, I'm going to try and do one of those sort of bookshelf tours every single year, because it just shows how the collection ebbs and flows, and some books go and other books gets added. I think it'll be something to do about once a year, I reckon. Certainly the biggest collection I've been sent so far. I mean, it could have almost been a video in itself, but I think we'll include it as part of this series. So as we just watched the last few bits, I would like to say I hope you've enjoyed looking through these viewers' collections. As I said, that's just the first 8, and I think we can easily keep this going for quite a while yet. I've got enough for the next sort of 1.5 videos, so I'll do another one next month definitely, but in the meantime do please keep sending them in so I can give a nice sort of balance of different sorts of collections. You know the sort of thing that we cover on this channel, the sort of books that we cover, so try and keep it specific to that and make the pictures as clear, or the video as clear and as well lit as possible, because it will just make a better video. I have had a couple of entries that I haven't been able to include just because all the pictures were blurry in the end, so which is no good. Obviously I don't want to put them out. But if you have enjoyed today's video, don't forget, do please hit that subscribe button. It really does help. Do spread these videos out and about on your own social media, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, anywhere like that. If you've been enjoying them, just share the video out there and say check out this channel if you're a book lover, because hopefully there's enough classic content on here for people to enjoy. And with luck I'll attempt to do one of these book collection videos every single month going forward, if people find them interesting. I certainly do. And I shall very much look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, let's just watch the end of Vineeth's collection. And thanks to everyone who's already sent their collections in, and very much very gratefully received and hopefully enjoyed by all my viewers. So until next time, bye.